Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Goin Digital Show, the podcast for K-12 school leaders. I'm your host, Greg Goins, school superintendent in the great state of Illinois, and we're so glad to have you with us tonight live on the TeachCal Network. As always, you can connect with us a couple different ways tonight. You can always connect with us via Twitter by using the EduLive hashtag. So if you have a question for myself or our guest tonight, be sure to shoot us a question or a comment. We would love to interact with you. We also have a chat box here on the TeachCal website. So if you would like to connect with us that way, feel free to send us questions or comments as well. This is episode number 6, and tonight we're going to challenge conventional thinking because kids deserve it. And as always, we have a great guest list tonight. So let's get right to it. We have 2 incredible elementary school principals. The first is Todd Nesloney, a K-5 principal in the state of Texas. We also have Adam Welcome, also a K-5 principal in the state of California. And coming back to the Lone Star State in Texas, we have a superintendent that will help me with the superintendent perspective tonight, Brad McEachern. So welcome to all of you, and thanks for being on the Goin Digital Show.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, if we could, let's start with Todd. Tell us a little bit about your school district and a little bit about your background in public education.
Okay. Well, I was the classroom teacher for 7 years. I taught 4th grade for 2 years and 5th grade for 5. And then I got connected on social media a couple of years ago and got pretty active on Twitter. And about my 2nd year, I guess, active on Twitter, I got a direct message. And this was a year and a half ago. I got a direct message from a school district that said, "Hey, do you like project-based learning?" And I said, "Yeah, I do it in my classroom. I love it." And they said, "Would you want to work at a school that everybody's doing project-based learning?" And I said, "Sure." And they said, "Well, how would you like to lead that school?" And I said, "What the heck are you talking about?" I mean, I had my master's. I wasn't looking to be a principal. Well, about 2 months later, I was hired as the principal of Navasota Intermediate, and I spent the last school year as principal there of a 4th and 5th grade campus. And then the district did some restructuring and some rezoning, and Navasota Intermediate is no longer. We now have 2 pre-K-5 elementaries, so now I am principal, same district, at Webb Elementary, a pre-K-5 campus that services about 750 students, 90% free and reduced lunch, 50% Hispanic, 35% African American. So we've got a nice little mix of things at our school, and we are rocking and rolling in my 2nd year as a principal.
Good deal. Adam, how are things in California?
Yeah, hey, rocking and rolling just like Todd. This is my 6th year in administration. I taught 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade for about 7 years, and actually grew up in classrooms. My dad taught 2nd grade for about 38 years, so I've been around elementary school a long time, and my dad was a school board member, so I've kind of seen the full gamut. I'm actually at a new school this year in my previous district as a principal. Wanted to try a new challenge. So I'm just starting off this year. My previous school, I was at 3 years as principal. We went 1-to-1, the entire campus K-5. I got to my school, we had 30 iPads. In 2 years, we were 1-to-1, 550 kids. Every teacher on Twitter, Genius Hour, project-based learning, you name it, definitely rocking and rolling and having a lot of fun. Student-centered learning is the key. An engaged classroom is the best discipline program you can have. I mean, I had 0 discipline, almost 0 issues with kids. When you keep them engaged and busy, and they can't wait to go to school and are stoked about all the different documents they're working on in their Google Drive and videos they're creating. I mean, as a school leader, you can't ask for much more. So we are definitely spreading it at my new site as well. And Todd and I have Kids Deserve It going. We'll talk more about that later. So.
All right, good deal. Brad, how's the superintendent business in Texas?
It's exciting. I have been in education probably about 21 years now. I started off teaching junior high for 3 years, then I moved to high school for 5, and then I took my first administrator position as assistant principal at a K-5 campus at elementary, which is just a little bit of shock moving from high school to elementary. But it's exciting. I spent 2.5 years as assistant principal at elementary school, and then I took my first principal's job here at Warren Elementary, and I spent 3.5 years as principal at Warren Elementary, and moved back to the original district I was with. down the road. Spent 4 years in the district there as an administrator. Came back for my second stint here at Warren ISD and spent a year as junior high principal, and then became, I'm in my third year as superintendent. We have about 1,270 kids, and we are right now going one-to-one iPad minis. We are full 6th grade through 11th grade, and we have carts on our elementary campuses. So it's definitely been an adventure. I've gotten connected with Todd through Twitter. When we handed out our iPads to our staff and started training them, I stood up and made the comment to them that they needed to get connected, that's where a lot of the information was that was going to help them be successful with these devices with their children and changing their classrooms. And then I had some teachers that really went out and blew past me, and it dawned on me that I really wasn't leading by example. And so I jumped head first into it, and I've had some successes and had some challenges, but it's been exciting. And I guess probably the biggest thing that I can say is once I got on Twitter, it became very exciting learning again, because I truly became a learner again when I got back here. Made great connections too, just like tonight.
I think we can all attest to that. I think being a connected educator and, more importantly, a connected leader is really, going to have to be a prerequisite as any of us go out and try to lead school districts. Todd, I want to jump back to you just for a second. I guess first I want to offer my congratulations. You are the BAMI Award winner for Principal of the Year. Can you tell us about, give us a reaction here on the Goin Digital Show, and tell our viewers what the BAMI Awards are.
So the BAMI Awards are like the Emmys, the Academy Awards, the Grammys. They're put on by the Academy of Education, Arts, and Sciences, and so they recognize everything that's great in education, from school nurses to school discipline officers to principals to superintendents. And I was selected as a top 5 finalist. Last year, I actually won the BAMI for elementary teacher, and so it's weird to me to be a BAMI winner for elementary teacher, and then the next year be the BAMI for elementary principal. It was an awesome little thing. I flew up to D.C. and met a couple of my friends who were also BAMI nominees, and we spent the weekend hanging out in D.C. and then watched the live event together and got to Skype in and be interviewed briefly on the live event. But it was great. It's quite an honor. It's one of those things that it's weird to be recognized for being an award-winning principal when it's my staff and the parents and the kids who make me look good. And so it's kind of like I wish that there was like 100 and something BAMIs for me to pass out to all the people that are around me, because I'm just a piece of the puzzle. And so that's kind of fun, interesting. But it was great. I was nominated along some really great friends alongside of, and so it was awesome.
Well, big congratulations from everyone out there. And for our viewers on Twitter, go ahead and give Todd a big digital high five tonight for the BAMI Award. October is Connected Educator Month, and we kind of hit on that a little bit, Brad, during the opening. And let's just talk about that. What does it mean to you to be connected, and why is it so important, and why are we still having so many challenges getting school leaders and teachers on Twitter and on social media? And we'll start with you, Adam.
Adam, you're muted.
Got it. I think the biggest thing is people don't know what they don't know, and showing it starts with the leaders, and getting the leaders connected to trickle down the connectedness, I feel, is so important. I've seen schools that will have pockets of people connected, a few people here and there, but when the principal or the superintendent is connected, or directors, and then they're directly showing teachers, counselors, whoever may be, what change can happen, that is the key. And the key too is when the teachers see it and they experience it organically. Quick story: my old school, everybody on staff was on Twitter, and it completely changes the culture. My new school, we've been there 6 weeks. I was talking to a teacher about Twitter. She's like, I really don't like Twitter. I like Instagram. I said, hey, you know what? I'm not going to push it down on anybody. The next day, she follows me on our school account. I said, oh, you're on Twitter, kind of giving her a hard time. Oh, my grade level teammates kind of talked me into getting on Twitter. This was 2 weeks ago. Last Friday, she's in my office, and she says, hey, did you see that article I tweeted out? And I said, You've drinking the Kool-Aid. You've drinking the Kool-Aid, right? A couple weeks ago, you didn't want to be on Twitter, and now you're talking about tweeting and collaborating with colleagues. You're not emailing something out. You're having a conversation online. So, you know, when the leader can walk the walk and bring the entire school and show that you can connect your parents with in other schools in your district and, you know, local area, and then also bring your school together on a more localized level, it really brings collaboration to the next level and sharing.
And all of us are, you know, we've been connected for a long time. And Todd, you were just talking a little bit before we came on air about all the people you've connected with, and that's really helped you in your career as a school leader. So talk about some of those connections and talk about how they're helping you on a day-to-day basis.
Well, you know, I think social media is something that I didn't want to be a part of. I had a Facebook, didn't want anything else. I was kind of pressured into it. And it's one of those, I often describe social media or Twitter like Disney World. You don't understand what it's like until you've been a part of it. If you've been to Disney World, you get why people just freak out about it. And for me, Twitter is one of those things that it's like, why did I take so long to get connected? Because it truly did alter my career 100%. But it also allowed me, I always say, to find my people. I felt like a lone wolf often. And so now that I've built all these connections, and it's more than just a professional thing. The lines begin to blur once you really put yourself out there and show all that honesty. And so a lot of my friends, I mean, I think of Brad and Adam, who are both on here, who are both friends of mine, both of which I may have met Brad accidentally in life at one point in our future, but Adam, I would have never met Adam had I not been connected. And now Adam and I are just, we call each other brothers from another mother. His kids are like my niece and nephew. And I talk to them more than I talk to some of my own family. And Brad and Adam and I are writing a book together and everything. But it's kind of like one of those things that I get connected with people, and then I put myself out there so much that those connections become personal. And I'm able to call in favors and say, hey, Aaron Klein, do you have a free weekend? Can you come work with my staff? Or Angela Myers adopted our school last year and kind of helped us transform into the first You Matter school in the nation. And just other connections through organizations like Remind and Classroom Champions. I've just been able to really foster some really honest connections with those people.
Great. And Brad, you know, as a superintendent myself, I'm getting ready to go to our state superintendent conference. I'm leaving tomorrow, and I'll be there through the rest of the week. And I'm going to have the chance to present on Friday, and it's really going to be on Eric Schenniger's book, talking about the 7 pillars of digital leadership. And I think this is the first year at our conference we have a conference hashtag. And my goal when I speak on Friday morning, I mean, if I'm lucky enough to have 40 people attend, my goal is to make sure all 40 of those guys and girls are on Twitter. So I mean, that needs to be the goal, I guess, for all of us when we go out and interact with other folks in our profession.
And you know, it's funny. You know, Todd was talking about not really wanting to be there, and I experience that a lot when we're talking to people. They have to have that aha moment. They have to have that moment where they realize what it does for them. It's not just people telling about their day. It's people solving problems together. Everybody goes through a lot of the same things, whether it's Alan in California or Todd in Texas or you in Illinois. Everybody has a lot of the same issues, and we're so much better when we put our heads together and solve these issues together, or when we share great ideas together. That's what Twitter brings, and you make those connections, and you're able to come up with great ideas. We were able to go visit Todd's campus, and I met Todd through Daisy, who's one of my teachers, who kind of really took off, and you know, if you don't know Daisy Marino, she's huge on Twitter, but it's because, like Todd said, she puts herself out there, and she made connections. I jumped on board and got out there in front too, and it's just about making those connections, because when you've got 5 heads on a campus, how many do you truly have when you have your PLN together?
Greg, can I hop in and say one thing, Greg?
Yeah.
You know, I of course, I'm with everybody here. Getting that connectedness around the country, around the world is so important. Something that I feel as a site leader that can be overlooked is the connectedness that you may not know you have on your own campus. And I say that because, you talk about teaching, you know, as a third and fourth, fifth grade teacher, when I was a teacher in the classroom, it's really not that collaborative, I feel. Most of the day it's you and your students in your four walls, right? But when you get people, if it's on Instagram, Twitter, you name it, on your campus, and then you can share what's going on. I have stories of third grade teachers saying that they changed their lesson based on a tweet that they saw in a fourth grade classroom just an hour before.
Yep.
You know, that level of like close connectedness, collaboration would not have been available or possible, you know, 5 years ago. When was the last time a kindergarten teacher was in a fifth grade teacher's classroom for more than a minute, right? So that's another way to share and bring project-based learning, bring ideas. So then when you see people at a staff meeting, you see them in the lunchroom, you go, oh, hey, I like that project you did, great idea. And they're going to morph that into something that can work in their grade level. So yes, that global connectedness is so important, but I talk to people and I say, don't forget about your own campus, because there's so many great ideas and geniuses happen on right there. You know, make sure you focus on that as well too. So I just wanted to jump in and say that in my experience, that's been a huge, huge boost across the campus.
Well, and you know, Adam, something that you said brought up another thought in my head. You know, as administrators, we all know how lonely our positions can be, especially on the campus. And I think about my position as an administrator and how I don't know how people who aren't connected make it as an administrator. Because for me, last year being my first year, I don't think I would have ever made it without my group of support. I mean, between my friends like Jimmy Casas and Brad Gustafson and Ben Gilpin, I mean, I don't know if I could have been able to make it. And so having that group of administrators that I have as friends from around the country now really helps push me, makes me want to be better, constantly has that conversation, but also allows me a place to vent and be myself too.
Good point. All three of you made great points. And if you're just tuning in, you're watching the Goin Digital Show, the podcast for K-12 school leaders. We have three amazing school administrators tonight with us, and we're going to talk a little bit about thinking outside the box a little bit. You know, guys, that's probably one of those terms that's a little bit overused, but in this case, I think it's exactly you know, what we need to be doing as school leaders. So Adam and Todd, if you can just talk a little bit about the Kids Deserve It platform, I think it's amazing, and tell our viewers what that's all about.
So you want me to start, Adam, or you want to start?
Go ahead.
So Adam and I met at NAESP, which is the National Elementary Principal Conference, and it was in Long Beach this year. And Adam and I had interacted a couple times on Twitter, but we heard the opening keynote speaker, Eric Wall, who is a graffiti artist. And it was just absolutely inspiring. I mean, one of the best keynotes I've ever heard, just about creativity and eliminating excuses and unlocking all that potential. And Adam was giving me a really hard time about how Adam blogs like 5,000 times a week, and I blog like a couple times a month. And so Adam was like, come on, you need to blog. And he's like, let's sit down and let's write a blog together. And so Adam and I sat down, and again, we had just met the day before, and we knocked out a blog in like 10 or 15 minutes between the two of us. It just flowed so naturally, and in our conversations, you know, we were just kind of talking about some of our beliefs and things we believe about education and what we want for kids. And Adam just was threw the phrase out there. He was something about kids deserve it, and he was like, we should totally take and run with this. I think we've got something. And you know, mine and Adam, we have the same beliefs, but we have very different personalities when it comes to the way we do things, and so that's why we just work so well together. And so Adam and I, over that weekend going home, created a Twitter account, a Facebook page, a website. We just started writing and reaching out to people, and it has exploded. I mean, we've got over 3,000 followers on Twitter. Our blog, it's a couple thousand hits a week. We've got a lot of great people who've done some blog posts. Eric Wall, the keynoter, was the inspiration behind it all. He's written several blog posts for us, and it's cool because he'll message, like he messaged, strangely enough, Adam and I this morning. And he was like, hey, look, I made this new video. It's for teachers. I want y'all to see it first. And he's been pushing the Kids Deserve It hashtag at his education keynotes that he's doing now.
Yeah, if you follow the hashtag, like I have it on my tweet deck, and so many people, you know, the message is, you know, Todd and I were talking on Voxer this morning, take Twitter, take technology, take Chromebooks, anything out of it. At the core of it, you know, why should you do this? Why should we look forward? Why should you do the best for kids? Because kids deserve it. It's really like it could be the ending line for so many positive initiatives. I've had people reach out to me and they're like, hey, I'm presenting at a conference. can I mention kids deserve it? Can I use that in my speech? And we're like, yeah, go use it. I mean, it's like universal, you know, like we want people to use it and embrace it. We have some more blog posts in the works right now. Todd said, yes, it's true. We're writing a book. More to come on that. That's all we can say right now about that. But 2016 is going to be a breakout year, and we're super excited. Super excited about it. And really, it's you know, we really want to do something that's kind of timeless, and it's not gonna, like, in 6 months it's past, it's like the new fad, whatever. It's really just good for kids. Team Kid. I had an old saying in my old school, hashtag Team Kid. We're all on Team Kids because kids deserve it. So it is.
And Adam and I both really believe too in pushing people outside their comfort zones. And that's kind of the thing both of us go with Kids Deserve It. It's like we want to have those conversations that maybe some people won't have. Things like, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone, trying these things that are going to make you better for kids? And it's been funny because the more we've written and done this, we've got some really great people who are writing blog posts. I mean, the creator of Kid President, he's working with us to write a blog post. Steve Spangler, the science guy who's been on Ellen and all that, he's writing a blog post, as well as Principal L and Angela Myers and some other great educators who have already written for us. So like Michelle Corbett and Brandon Blom and guys like that, and Matt Johnson. But it's one of those things. We wanted to create a space that you really can't argue with, because we're saying things that are what's best for kids. It's not what's best for us, what's going to make us look better, whatever. It's always looking at the perspective of what's best for the kids.
No excuses. There's no like, oh, in 2 years, I'm going to wait a year. How about that 5th grade class that's going through my school right now, right? They deserve it. The kids across town, the kids in Illinois, the kids in Texas, anywhere, they deserve it. I'm a dad. I have 2 of my own. My kids deserve it. You know, I'm kind of an in-your-face, in a nice collaborative way. Like, hey, are you on Voxer yet? No. 5 minutes later, are you on Voxer yet? Did you sign up? Because you should get connected. And then you know, we got people that reach out to us. There's a principal in Iowa, Eric Ewald, and you know, he's on Twitter. Then he connected with me. He reached out. I said, get on Voxer. I don't send emails. You know, I want to talk to you because it's easier. And then it took him like 2 weeks, and then I got him hooked up with Voxer. He's going to write a blog post for Voxer and how it's changed his life. It's like you know, come to Jesus, like he's found his purpose in life. He's like, oh my gosh, I'm such a different person. And he's like, God, kids deserve it. I'm like, that's it right there. So we could talk for 2 weeks, Greg. We're not going to talk for 2 weeks about it, but we're excited about it. We're stoked. I know teachers, principals, superintendents have reached out to both of us with ideas and just collaboration, and we want to do this. What do you guys think? So, you know, I'm not just principal of my school. I feel like I'm principal for anybody, and that's just being a learner and growing with people outside of my campus. My school demographics much different than Todd's, which I feel brings a really good balance from both sides. So,
well,
that's it.
I think what you're doing is fantastic, and I certainly think if the Kids Deserve It team wants to make a announcement tonight or unveil something new and exciting, I can't think of a better place than the Goin Digital Show. So, Todd, tell us a little bit more about the book. Can you give us a little bit of any information about the book?
The best thing we can say right now is we're shooting for a mid-2016 release, and we are just super pumped just to share our thoughts and stories in one space. We've got the blog, and we're going to keep blogging, and we love the blog, but we wanted to flesh out and add some more perspective and thoughts that we have out there. And so Adam is just such an incredible person to write with, and pushes me and challenges me. And so I know that my writing has gotten better since I've been writing with Adam. And I love that even when writing with Adam, my own personal blog has kind of improved, I feel like. And I know he gave me one of the ideas now that I'm doing a blog series called I Wish You Knew. We released an administrative one, a teacher one, and then the parent version is releasing this weekend. I'm crowdsourcing things that administrators, teachers, parents, and the next week will be students, what they wish you knew as educators about them. And so I've just really enjoyed writing with Adam, and I can't wait to see what we're going to put together in a book.
Great. And Brad, from a superintendent perspective, again, one of the hashtags that's really trended, I guess, the last year or so has been the student voice hashtag, the STU voice. And, what a novel idea that we actually ask kids, what kind of school experience they want. And, I for one, am certainly glad that we're, trying to shine a light on that, because as we're talking about tonight, the kids deserve it.
I think it's very important. We've hosted just a local chat on Thursday nights called Region 5 Chat, and we actually have had a student. She was an 8th grade student last year who participated fairly regularly, and she brought such a unique vantage point to the chat. So many times chiming in from angles that, as administrators and teachers, we just often don't think about. And that resource is there for us every day, whether, like Todd was talking earlier, it's in a kindergarten classroom or it's a 5th grade, 8th grade, or even high school. They have so many answers about what works for them. And if you give them that freedom, they're going to be, as Adam said, so invested in the class. And that's what you want. When you have that student invested, they're not going to miss. They're going to be excited about coming. And to me, that's the thing that we've got to strive for. And the kids are going to be so much more successful if we just listen to things like that.
And I love the title of tonight's show is to challenge conventional thinking. And in this country, public education, it seems like we're always behind. And we have this traditional model of schooling. Everyone went to school. Everyone has that shared experience. But why is it so difficult for school leaders or educators to think a little bit differently and just try something new? And I'll kind of open that up to anybody that wants to respond.
I think people are afraid. And I think you need to take a step forward, and you just got to take a step forward. And if you feel like you're on an island, reach out on Twitter, find people like Todd and myself. We're always happy to help. Anything you want to do is being done somewhere else in some sort of way. Put your own little local twist on it. That's important. It's like a classroom. Everybody has their own little individualized teaching style. I've talked to so many people, and they just go, really? Do you think I can do that? It's like talking a teacher leader into going to get their admin credential to become a principal. Really? You think I could be a principal? Yeah, you could go do it. It's that belief. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. And really, I've heard these testaments from so many principals. Just talking to somebody that's already doing it and believing in me, because again, it is lonely being a principal when you're the only person at your site. And to bounce ideas off of, and especially if people in your district are not taking that, they haven't really drinking the Kool-Aid. And I know Todd and I don't love to say 21st century so much. It's more just about being relevant. They're not super relevant, and they think that people may not agree with what they're doing. And again, it's not about us. It has nothing to do with us. It's all about the kids. And I ask kids what they want to do. Hey, I have a drone in my office. Who wants to go fly the drone? I got like 100 hands went up, right? They all have drones at home. So how come they have these toys and these tools at home, but then at school they don't? We have to mirror that at home, and we're the curriculum experts where we bring it together to make it college and career ready. It's Common Core to the nth degree. At my old site, we tweeted so much, I gave some 5th graders an iPad, and we had some social media interns, and they went around, took pictures, came back to my office, and then they would tweet. After 2 days, I said, hey, you go for it. I'd be on campus, and I'd see a tweet that I wouldn't send, that I didn't send. It was from the kids. They loved it. I mean, every company in the world has a social media manager, right? So it's not even if you're not comfortable with it, empower the students. Jason Markey, who's a principal in Illinois, Layden, I think it's Layden High School, he gives a Twitter account to a different kid or different faculty member every week, and they tweet for the school. Tell your school story, take charge. That's how we collaborate and are better together.
I think you made a very key point, encouraging people. There's always that fear of failure. So I think one of the things that we have to do as leaders is we have to create an environment where failure is okay. As a matter of fact, often it's encouraged because that means you're trying something new. You're getting out there. So I think that's an important feature. And the other thing is that at one point, all of us were in that same place where we were waiting for somebody to encourage us. I remember multiple places where I was encouraged to take that next step that I wouldn't have taken had somebody not brought me along. And so I think the other thing as leaders, we have a responsibility to do that, to encourage people to step out on that ledge and to take a chance at something, and then all of a sudden they're going to find out that they're able to do something they didn't think they were able to do. And once they have that success and that aha moment, there's no limit on what they can do.
And I think Brad made a great point, too, about how as leaders we have to set the example. We have to take risks as well. I know that my staff can tell you that they know that I take risks, and they know that because I have things that aren't successful that we try at school. And I have no shame with standing up in front of my staff and saying, I'm sorry, I thought this was a great idea, it wouldn't work, does somebody have something better? Let's try this, let's do this. I mean, today I met with one representative from each campus for our vertical science meeting. And we just ran into a conversation about gardening. We were throwing things out there, and they're like, let's try this, and let's try this. And one of the teachers just said, this is so cool. And I said, what? And she was like, I'm sitting at a table with a principal that I've never worked for before, and he's taking our ideas and he's letting us do whatever we want. And I'm like, you know what my philosophy is? And because I always tell them, my philosophy as a teacher, and mine still as an administrator, is it is much easier to ask for forgiveness than it is to ask for permission. So if it's what you think is what's best for kids, do it. Let's make it work. Let's figure it out. And if it doesn't work, we'll try something else. But as long as we don't sit there and beat a dead horse, then let's take some risks, because that's where true change happens, is when we're uncomfortable and we're doing things that are different.
I think, Todd, a key point, too, is that when you do take that and you have a failure, it's so important to reflect and come back and say, okay, how can we make this better?
Right.
How can we do this in a manner that it is going to be more successful next time? And I think so often that if you don't have an environment that is okay with that, if you don't create that, things stop after that first failure.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I think those are all great points, and the Kids Deserve It platform, I think, is going to continue to grow and continue to catch on, and we'll certainly continue to promote that in my school district and right here on the show. I want to give a quick shout out to Pam Moran, who is an amazing superintendent in the state of Virginia. And Pam was on the Goin Digital Show a couple weeks ago when we talked about the maker movement and reshaping school spaces. And I am part of a Voxer group called iSoup with superintendents throughout the country, and Pam is a part of that group. And she left a message earlier this week, or maybe it was last week, excuse me, talking about really looking through the lens of a child in a typical school day. And in her district, they did a shadow project in which a teacher or an administrator would actually shadow that student for an entire day and kind of see what that child is going through, in a 6.5, 7-hour school day. And I think we need more of those kind of activities, because a lot of our kids just don't have a good experience from 8 o'clock to 3 o'clock. So that kind of goes back to that student voice piece. We have to listen to the natives and know what they want. What do you think, Todd?
I completely agree. I mean, you're dead on. That's exactly what we need to do.
Brad, can you see yourself doing something like that?
Oh, I definitely could.
Shadowing a student?
A friend of ours that Todd and I know, Carl Hooker, actually did that. He was a student for a day in Eanes ISD, and he blogged about it and had several things and had challenged me to do it, and I have yet to be able to get out there and do it, but I think it's a good idea. I think it's something that definitely gives you a very different perspective.
Well, and the one thing I think administrators should do too is stay in the classroom. I think you can so easily get lost in your office and doing that kind of thing. Like for me, I teach a minimum of 2 or 3 times a week. I work with teachers, I partner with them and say, tell me what you're doing, let's talk about your lesson plans, how can I jump in here and help you, how can I work with you to do this or that, or we can teach a lesson together. And I think that keeps me fresh, but it also gives me some validity with my teachers, because so many times you meet an administrator who's been an administrator for 20 or 30 years, and they don't even know what the standards are anymore, and they don't know what kind of tools to use to engage your students in the classroom. And so for me, it's been really important. And I also took the job, and what I told my current district that I'm with is that I don't want this job if it's going to keep me in the room, in my office, because I'm a teacher. I'm in an administrative position, but I'm a teacher. I love working with kids, and I want to make sure that I'm there and actively in those rooms. And so I challenge every administrator to get out of your office and get into classrooms and do more than just sit in a classroom. Teach, because the kids love it when their principal teaches a lesson.
And we all know that change is difficult in a school system, and you know, a lot of times school leaders are just afraid of taking that risk, afraid of taking that leap, afraid of failure. All of you have been very successful in your buildings, your school districts. What would some advice be that you would have for school leaders out there that are maybe looking to try something new and they know it's going to be a difficult change? What are kind of walk them through that process and give them some tips to be successful?
Hey, you know, for me, sorry, I lost my Wi-Fi. I think one of the best things that I've done as a principal is started a school blog. There are so many ways actually just to broadcast information. First off, blogging is a career. You can make money on the words or you can make money on ads and blogging. But it kind of like what Todd said, it shows people that you can take risks and that you're willing to take risks. And then we want our kids blogging. So kind of like Todd with teaching, and I teach a lot as well too on my campus. You have kids that write blogs, so then we have parent as guest posts, guest bloggers. You hire a new teacher, you can do a new teacher feature, so you get their face out there. And then you do that, then you just start a Twitter feed. Really just putting yourself out in front of it. Do one thing or do 3 things really well. Don't try to do 10 things. If you don't want to do Twitter, do Instagram, vice versa. If you want to do just Facebook, start small to make it sustainable. That's my advice.
What do you think, Brad?
You know, I think it's important as administrators that we're comfortable, number one, leading by example, and number two, we've got to show them that, like Todd said, there's a lot of times that we put plans out there that are not successful either. Just because you move up the ladder doesn't mean that your plans are all going to be successful. And so I think it's important that you get comfortable with taking those risks, you get comfortable with not being successful every time, and you get comfortable with taking advice, like Todd said, from your teachers, from those people on your campus, because they're the ones that are going to bring you the best ideas. You're going to throw those things out there, they're going to make them better. Most of the things that we tried that were successful, I was telling one today, they started off so small, and then the group took off and made it so much better. That's happened to all of us, but it's because we do it together. That it's teamwork. And as a leader, if you're not willing to jump out there and try something different, if we're not changing, we're sitting still. That, to me, that's got to be a big piece of it. So you've got to be always looking for ways that you can get better, new ways to do things, and more people to connect to.
I think for me, the biggest thing you can do as an administrator to get your teachers to step outside their comfort zones is validate them. Validate their ideas and let them know that not only are there works. One thing we try to do on my campus is celebrate everything. Celebrate great ideas. People are taking risks. I celebrate when a teacher takes a risk and it didn't work because I'm just so proud that they took a risk. And so when you build that celebratory environment, I know that for me, as an educator, and before I became an administrator, if my principal wasn't stepping outside the box, I didn't respect them. If they weren't doing things that I knew that I wanted in a leader, because that's the whole point of a leader. A leader is supposed to lead, and your teachers are never going to keep growing if there's nobody there to lead them, if there's not that vision. And so for me, I just think that as administrators, it's our responsibility to be out there learning and growing. I always tell teachers, you know, when they say that they're not on social media and they don't go to PD because the district doesn't have money to send them, I say, you know what? How dare you as a teacher tell your students to come into your room and learn every single day, but you yourself don't go out there and learn on your own? We live in 2015 where Google is at our disposal and free learning is everywhere. And so all of the excuses of money or resources, all those are eliminated. And the same goes for administrators. Administrators tend to only go to the legal conferences or the principal conference. For me, I'm learning curriculum. I'm learning classroom management. I'm learning leadership skills. I want to learn all of that so I can be the best leader I can be for my teachers, and so that I can know who to connect them with, because I'm not going to know all the answers. But I'll tell you what, if you've got a classroom design question, I'm going to send you over to Aaron Klein. If you've got questions about TouchCast, I'm going to send you to Brad Gustafson. If you want to know how do I get my kids tweeting, I'm going to send you to Adam Welcome, because these may not be things that I'm excellent at, but I bet you I can find you who is.
And I think that's another great point. And let's kind of move now to the instructional side a little bit more. I know all of you have great experience with curriculum and instruction. And, if you go back, several years now, Mark Prinsky coined the term digital native. And, of course, the natives are those that are born into a world of technology. They don't know anything other than having technology at their fingertips. And then those of us that, I hate to give away my age, but I was a high school student in the mid-1980s. So I would certainly be a digital immigrant. I remember getting on the internet for the very first time. Do you guys buy into this argument that there's still this huge disconnect in schools with teachers that are digital immigrants and digital natives that are students?
I mean, I'll go first. I think that term is kind of deceptive. Some people think that, and like to use thing of, our kids have grown up with all this technology, you should be using it, they're experts at it, they use it everywhere. Where the fact of the matter is, they may have grown up with the technology, but they're not experts at it by any means. Many times the things they know how to do are not things we really want them doing with the technology. And so regardless of if I've been using it a week or 11 years, I think it still goes back to learning how to use the tool for education and for good purposes.
And what I would say is, I tell teachers, some teachers stress out, I need to know how to use this. I have to know. I'm worried about it. And I say, you're never going to know everything. Don't try to be ahead of the learning. What you need to do is know how to facilitate the curriculum and the learning for the students. I mean, I'm not going to know everything, all the newest apps and texts and tools, but being the curriculum expert, know how to bring them into your classroom to make them meaningful experiences for kids.
But, Brad, the one thing that we do know is, I don't know about you, but I've never heard a kid say, Dr. Goins, we did a great worksheet today in 5th grade.
No. Engagement is just, it's the term we all talk about, and I've heard it discussed several times tonight. You think back to when you were in school, when I was in school, who was your favorite teacher? And then you start thinking about, why were they your favorite teacher? Why did you love going to that class every day? And we often have discussions and chats and everything about, would you want to be a student in your classroom and why? And if you can't answer that yes, then you've got to reevaluate what you're doing. I look a lot of times and say that, when we talk about using technology, when we talk about trying something new, there are a lot of people who can tell you why it can't be done or why it shouldn't be done or what's wrong with that. But I'm looking for people who are going to tell me, what are the good things about it? What are the positives? Even if something doesn't go the way they want to go, what was right about it? How did I connect with a kid in a different way that maybe I didn't do last week because I stepped out and tried something new? It's not about the technology or the new twist in the lesson. It's still about the teaching. A great teacher is a great teacher, always.
There's a great quote that says, you made me think of it, Brad. There's a great quote that says, we can't keep saying that technology is going to replace a great teacher. If they're a great teacher, they cannot be replaced by technology because it'll never.
Well, a great teacher is going to figure out how to use it for their benefit to reach their student. You don't ever have to do that with a great teacher. They're going to figure it out. That's why they're great. They've done it all the way along.
And we've got several people on Twitter, and if you could, guys, try to respond to them and answer any questions they may have. I do want to give a shout out to Craig Yin. Craig Yin is everywhere, it seems like. So, Craig, I hope to meet you in person someday. But I feel like I know you, buddy, because you're everywhere on my phone, my iPad, my laptop. I see you all the time.
Craig lives about 10 minutes away from me.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Craig is the man. I got to meet him, I think it was at Miami Device, which is probably the best conference I've ever been to in my entire life. And it's coming in November again. But yeah, Craig is everywhere all the time.
He doesn't sleep.
Todd, what makes a great conference? What was so good about Miami Device?
Well, I travel and go to a lot of conferences, and typically when you go to a good one, it's because of the kind of people that are there. And for me, the conferences, to me, the conversations that happen outside of the sessions are just as important. But Miami Device is first of all, it's in beautiful Miami, Florida, put on by Felix Giacomino, who just won a BAMI for school technologist. Felix is the man. I love Felix. But he put together a Miami Device, and it was only about 250 people. So it was small. It was at a beautiful private school, and it was amazing because he brought all these quote-unquote rock stars in education that everybody hears about presenting, and they were all in this small, intimate setting. And so you get to see all these people, and there weren't all these vendors everywhere, and it was the most learning I've had in a long time, and I'm so glad that he brought it back this year because they've got Adam Bello, Angela Myers, George Kuros. Those are the keynotes this year. And then there's tons of featured presenters. But it was just, I love Miami Device.
So let's talk a little bit more about some of those ideas that may be a little unconventional that you're really excited about this school year. Anything going on that you're really pumped about this fall? Anybody?
I'll go.
Go, Todd.
To me, what I'm most excited about is I talk a lot about the kids that we service in my area. We have a very damaged student population. Comes from a lot of poverty. There's a lot of pain, and you can see it in some of their eyes. You can sense it in their actions and their reactions. We have a lot of discipline that we're working with. And one of my biggest things, and it's even not that out of the box or that creative necessarily, but we really work on making sure every single child knows that they are worthy, that they are valuable, and that they are important. And to me, I always tell teachers, your job is 50% educational and 50% emotional. And if you're forgetting that emotional piece, you're not doing your job as a teacher. And so we have to figure out a way to connect with every kid and let them know that they have a purpose at our school because so many of them feel forgotten or lost or like they aren't ever going to amount to anything because of where their family is or where their circumstances are. And so every single decision I make is rooted in a place of how can I make sure that this is going to empower those students, that this is going to give them a voice, make them feel and understand the great worth that each one of them brings to our campus and to this world.
And
I think
go ahead, Brad. Go ahead.
I think one of the big things we have a responsibility to do is to really, and Todd, y'all both talked about this earlier, is to celebrate our successes of our students and our teachers. So many times, and Todd does such a great job of this, so many times the things that you see talked about are the negatives. And I think we don't do a good enough job of talking about the positives. And I'm going to brag on my administrators because I think that our administrators this year have really embraced the fact that we're going to celebrate our students, we're going to celebrate our teachers, and the positives are going on. And our parents really embrace that. We celebrate it on Facebook, make sure that we get our pictures out of things that are going on right on the campuses. We talk about use Remind to communicate with our parents. We're going to communicate with them so much that there's not going to be any excuse for them to not know what's going on in our district. And I think that's something that probably we haven't done as good a job in the past that I feel like we're doing a much better job of this year because more and more of our people are embracing that. It's one of the things we talk about a lot with our administrators and our teachers is the more you communicate, the less problems you're going to have because you're going to be more on the same page with your students and your parents. If you leave that to gain, as Adam said earlier, and you don't tell your story, you don't tell what's going on in your district, then somebody else is. So I'm very excited about what we're doing with our communication this year with our parents.
If we could, let's circle back one more time the last 10 minutes of the program. Again, thank you everyone for being here. It's been a great discussion. We've talked a lot tonight about Kids Deserve It, the website, the Twitter page, maybe even a book that's going to come out in 2016 talking about making decisions that are best for kids. So we know that, what do kids deserve? We know they deserve great teachers, they deserve great schools, they deserve breakfast and lunch every day. Adam, what else do kids deserve?
Kids deserve a smile every day. Kids deserve a high five when they come to school. Kids deserve for teachers and you to leave your issues in your life in the car so kids don't have to deal with them because you're in a bad mood. Kids deserve to be pushed by you. Kids deserve I call it edu awesome. All the energy and awesomeness. Like I say that I don't have bad days. I have great days and awesome days, and kids deserve great and awesome every single day. It's not about the technology. It's not about all the access. It's just about love and pushing it. Same as administrators and teachers. They need to be pushed. Kids even more. We don't know any kid's story. We don't know if they had breakfast. We don't know if they slept in the car last night. We don't know if their parents divorced. Whatever their story is, they deserve the best from us every single day. And at the heart of it, that is what kids deserve.
Very well said. Todd, you want to follow that?
I think the kids also deserve a fresh start every day. I work car duty every single morning because I want every kid, no matter what they came to my office for or what they had to deal with the day before, to know that when you come into our campus, every day is a new day. I think every kid deserves, exactly like Adam said, high fives. I think they deserve hugs, fist bumps. Kids deserve to be celebrated, as well as our teachers, as well as our parents. Kids deserve to know that every one of them has something great inside of them, and even the smallest successes are worth celebrating. That kid who never gets a good phone call home but makes it 15 minutes without getting in trouble deserves to be able to call home to brag about how they made it 15 minutes, because that may be the only 15 minutes we get all year. But I'm such a believer in that our kids deserve to have every single thing that we can celebrated, because the fact of the matter is we may be the only person celebrating them.
And Brad, what do kids deserve in your school district?
They've both hit on so many good points. I think that kids deserve to have us as their leaders and their teachers to be looking for what's right in their lives. One of the things that I like to talk about a lot is it's so hard at times to find what's good in a really bad situation at times. But they deserve for us to, we have to be looking for that in kids, because there's so many kids that have tough home life and everything. We have to be looking for that. We have to help them get through it. We have to be the ones that they can turn to when they can't turn anywhere else. Kids need a place to go. They need someone to depend on, and as leaders, we've got to be the ones that provide that.
Very well said by all of you. And before we wrap up tonight, Todd, I want to come back to you. You're actually, you probably don't even know it, but kind of one of my mentors in this multimedia Google Hangout age of podcasting. And tell us a little bit about the Edu All-Stars, how it came to fruition, and a little bit about your experience doing that.
Sure. So when I got connected, fell in love with podcasts and different things like that. And, I got together with my friends Stacy Huffine and Chris Kessler, and we were like, let's do a podcast, but let's do it differently. What do we learn the most from? We learn the most from people's stories. And so we started Edu All-Stars, and we were like, let's interview people who inspire us, and let's dream big and not limit us to who it is. And so we reached out to some of the biggest names we knew. We've had Olympic gold medalists, we've had New York Times best-selling authors, we've had magicians, science experts, we even had the United States Secretary of Education, Arnie Duncan, on the show. We've had kids on the show that we've interviewed as well from all over the country, and people like your guests that you have on tonight have been on Edu All-Stars as well. But it was one of those things that we did it to feed others, but it ended up feeding ourselves just as much, getting to just sit and talk and hear the story behind the story, and to hear people that I admire and respect say, it's hard, I struggle, here's things that haven't worked out for me, and here's things that have been great, and let me tell you about it. And we haven't done an Edu All-Stars episode in like 3 months. We've never gone more than 2 weeks. And Chris and I took the summer off because Chris now works full-time from home. And so he took the summer off, and so did I, to kind of just pursue some other things. We're bringing it back because we made it 99 episodes. So we've got to get to 100. But we've got some great guests that we are working with that we're trying to line up still. But we are coming back soon as once our years get back in order. But yeah, it's been a ride, and that's what's also built me a lot of great connections. Because that's where I met Adam, was on Edu All Stars when we reached out to him to be on it.
Well, I think you're doing a great job, and this is episode number 6 of the Goin Digital Show, and I have so many stories to tell just in those 6 episodes. I couldn't imagine all the things you would have to share, so maybe we can connect and talk a little bit, and you can give me some tips in the future. As we close tonight, if you could, let's just go around the horn here and tell us where we can connect with you on Twitter, on social media, and if you could, just give us a closing thought about tonight and about your passion for doing what's best for kids. And we'll start with Adam.
Yeah, you can connect with me on Twitter. I'm A-Welcome on Twitter. It's also my Voxer username, A-Welcome. My blog is adamwelcome.blogspot.com. My school is at Monterre School. And I always tell people, just go be awesome for kids. Kids. Just go be awesome. That's all I ask. Smile and give a high five. That can lead to so much awesomeness for kids.
Very good. Brad?
I am on Twitter at Brad, and it's not spelled like it looks. It's MCEACHERN. We're at Warren DTX is our school Twitter account. The biggest thing that I want to walk away from is I want everybody to continue to look for what's right. I think it's so hard at times to do that, but I think you've got to be looking for what's right in order to find it.
And Todd?
Well, you can find me on Twitter at TechNinjaTodd. You can Google Todd Nesloney and get all my other social media accounts. My website's toddnesloney.com. We have kidsdeserveit.com, at kidsdeserveit on Twitter, at EduAllStars on Twitter. My school account is at web, WEBB_ELEM. And so you can follow us. Our hashtag is web, WEBBELEM. And I guess the thing that I would leave with is find your people. Because when I found my people on social media, people who would challenge me, who would confront me, who would encourage me, who would just be there to push me to be my best, it improved my teaching, which made me better for my students, which gave them a better education. So just find your people, push yourself outside of your comfort zones, and try something new. If nothing else, connect with any of us on here, and we'll encourage you on Twitter, Voxer, or wherever.
Well, I want to give a big thank you to all of our guests tonight. This has been an amazing show, and hopefully school leaders out there are getting something from it. And try to connect with all 4 of us, really. If we can help you in any way, maybe you can visit a school, call, email. I tell people they can Vox me, they can tweet me, however you can get a hold of me, and I'm sure these guys probably feel the same way. So, again, a big thank you to our guest tonight. Oscar is coming back tomorrow night on the Teach Cal Broadcasting Network, and he's going to talk about crowdfunding and grants. So you don't want to miss that tomorrow night on the Teach Cal Network. And the Goin Digital Show is coming back on October 13th. So we hope that we have a good crowd come back to join us as we try to talk about digital leadership and try to help school leaders throughout the country do what's best for kids, because as we learned tonight, kids deserve it. So with that, one more thank you to our guest tonight. Thank you for tuning into the Goin Digital Show, and have a great night, everyone.
Have a great